So you heard it all, and it has to do with, having some candy for those who will be helping in the fight against corruption. Many trying to analyze that policy and see if there are any loophole and see how beautiful that incentive will be for the whistleblower and even the security agencies. Now, time for us to bring in Charles Ajiboye. He's the chairman, Young Lawyers Forum of the NBA in Ikeja. Good to have you join us this evening.
It's a pleasure, Suleiman.
And I'm quite sure you must have been following the fight against corruption of the Buhari administration for many days. Think that this is one great thing that the president has always talked about from his electioneering campaign till this very moment. He feels that the fight against corruption is one key issue he must really deal with. But if you look at what is happening, you just had the finance minister talk about the whistleblowing policy, and you put that side by side with what has just happened within the Senate, involving two key men of the president, the acting chairman of the EFCC and the SGF. What would you be saying if you try to put your finger on the fight against corruption before we get into 2017?
Okay, I will start with the fact that from the beginning, at the onset, the PNB administration was not so sure about how they wanted to deliver the change they promised. And why do I say this? I think before you make any promise, you should consider how you want to deliver the promise. You should consider what you will need to do to deliver the promise. And then you should also be clear about when it will take you or how long it will take you to deliver the promise. I think they just wanted to deliver change. Corruption was just the key thing they were fighting against. But how exactly were they to fight corruption? I don't think they looked into that very clearly. Because if they did, there are certain things that should have been the first things to start with. In fighting corruption, you don't go to the marketplace or you go into the wrestling ring and start fighting corruption. That's not how to fight corruption. Not in an environment where there's rule of law, not in an environment where there's law, where there's order. No, you have to first look at the law. You have to look at the practices. You have to look at the procedures that are in place. And that is where you start from. And so I think it just came in and they started pinpointing certain people to use as scapegoats and examples. And like he said, which I don't think he understood the gravity, corruption will fight back. And well, it has taken time for corruption to mobilize, but corruption is now fighting back, and that's what I say. Corruption is fighting back, and corruption is fighting back more strategically than the PNB government fought corruption. You know, if you talk about some of the strategies which wasn't clear at the onset, and you also talked about the rule of law, which is very key that he must follow and make sure that whatever strategy he's going to employ must go with the rules of the land. One would readily remember what Professor Ajiboye did say on Sunrise Daily. He said the president has in his midst plenty of legal minds, sound legal minds. The vice president is a professor of law, and a couple of ministers are senior advocate of Nigeria. So it's surprising that you're saying that at the onset, it didn't look as if they put the rule of law, at the forefront in this fight, when we have many lawyers like yourself within the government. Now you have a point when you talk about who and who is part of the government. What I spoke about was how he thought about fighting it before he came into government. Many of these people came in when he started realizing or coming to the reality of the facts that surrounds corruption. So when it was clear to him that this is what corruption is all about, this is how to fight it, then he started bringing in people, setting up teams, looking for the luminaries, the legal luminaries to support. But come to think about it, you're talking about protection for people who disclose or reveal information about people that are corrupt. And then this is the time that this policy is coming to the fore. This same bill passed through the 6th Assembly. No attention. 7th, no attention. Now, the 8th Assembly is considering it. And the only reason I believe they are considering it is because they are kicking back.
So there's always been concern for protection.
Yes, there has always been.
The whistleblower.
Yes, there has always been. It has always been there. But nobody had looked at it because the people that should have looked at it were sure that the same thing they were looking at was going to kick back at them. But now they're doing it for selfish reasons. They're looking at it because the executive is pointing all the fingers at the legislative arm. It's looking like the legislature is the all bad people and the executive is, they are the all good people. And so the legislature is saying, okay, no problem. We're going to now do our job properly. Since you want to do your job properly. And that's why you find all these things coming to the fore. But, in all of these things, I'm sure of just one thing, that the Nigerian people will be the beneficiaries of it. How will Nigerian people benefit from all of this? Now, the legislature is saying the executive is not as pure as it makes itself to seem. They are saying you're applying double standards. They are saying you are doing selective indictment. You are punishing people that you choose to punish. And then the executive is saying, no, we are fighting a war against corruption. And so everybody say, okay, let's go onto the streets and let's fight this corruption tooth and nail. But you can't fight corruption with Clinton in your cupboard. You can't fight corruption with double standards. You can't fight corruption if you're not clear exactly about how you want to fight it.
Do you have a recipe, a quick recipe, because we're almost out of time, that you would want them to adopt in the fight, now that you have just highlighted some of the loopholes?
One standard. That's the quick recipe. One standard. One standard means whatsoever you are doing, follow just one standard. And so, if you look at the Magus case, the FCC, the acting boss of the FCC, it's very simple. If these allegations have been made, send him for proper investigations. Don't set up committees. If the SGF has been alleged to have done certain things, send him for investigations. Proper investigations.
One standard.
One standard.
Quickly, before I let you off, being the chairman of the Young Lawyers Forum NBA Keja branch, you must also be worried about the confirmation of the CJN. We'll still have him in acting capacity.
Well, that tells you, that brings you back to where I am. You see, sometimes the law will not work the way you want it to work. But as long as you sit on a seat because of the law, you just must follow the law. You can't leave that seat vacant. It's too sensitive, it's too important, and a decision must be taken, and it must be taken in accordance with the law.
Charles Ajiboye, fantastic place to wrap up the show this evening. Many thanks for being such a nice company. As a wrap on politics today, don't forget you can let us in on what you think. Follow us on our Twitter handle, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye for now.